It sucks. It's not, I'm not, it is, but at the end of the day, I'm a big boy. I know what I signed up for. I took a chance on myself and rolled the dice. We'll see how it plays out.
Let's talk about your football run for 23 years now. I brought it up.
It's been a different experience this year watching, but I've certainly enjoyed.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's official. Tom Brady is coming out of retirement, and there's a chance that Bill Belichick is going to be joining him as well. These two are possibly going to reunite with one another, just not in the way that you think. Before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! For the Super Bowl, PrizePicks is blessing us with an easy way to make $100. All Patrick Mahomes needs is one passing yard in the Super Bowl for a square to hit, which means he's pretty much a free square. First, download PrizePicks and use my promo code Mikerophone when you sign up to get up to $100 deposit match on your initial deposit, and then make these picks really quickly before they change the lines on them. So for me, I'm pairing Mahomes' free square with Isaiah Pacheco, who's had at least one touchdown in his last 5 games, so that's easy, and Christian McAfee, who has had more than 88.5 rushing yards in 4 of his last 5 games. Of course, I give away all my picks for free on Instagram, and I highly recommend you turn on notifications for my Instagram story so you can get the picks quickly before they move the lines and you lose your advantage. And thank you, PrizePicks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? One of the most difficult jobs in all of sports has to be playing the quarterback position. You have to know where every wide receiver, every tight end is going to be at all times. You need to know how to read defenses and audible to the right play just to make sure each and every play that you run is effective. You need to have arm strength to throw at a specific distance. You need to make sure the other 10 individuals on your team are where they're supposed to be. But the trade-off of that is you get paid handsomely, and you also have the most knowledge as to what's going on the football field. Typically, the individuals that become quarterbacks end up finding incredible careers following their playing days as color commentators or broadcasters. Individuals such as Troy Aikman, or more recently, Tony Romo, who bursted onto the scene in his first year with CBS and got a remarkable reputation for quite literally being able to predict the play right before it went down.
He is not going to run this play. He's trying to get him to draw offsides. He didn't even call a play in the huddle.
And there you go, Tony.
But the trade-off is if you make a mistake or if you praise a quarterback too much, let's say hypothetically that quarterback might be, I don't know, Patrick Mahomes.
That was amazing. Mahomes takes a wicked shot.
Or Patrick Mahomes.
Really was, and he has to get around the hand. He wanted to throw. That looked a little Mahomey.
Or also Patrick Mahomes.
That was a heck of a play by Mahomes right there.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm a huge Patrick Mahomes fan, but man, the Patrick Mahomes glazing could sometimes be a little bit much. If you make even the slightest misstep, the millions and millions of individuals that are watching these games will make sure you hear about it, which also makes it one of the most high-pressure jobs in the entire world, because at the same time, you have the responsibility of educating the casual viewer and the stat head and every type of viewer that there is watching your football games, whether it's an 8-year-old that's watching football for the very first time or a 50-year-old who's been watching since he was in college. You have the responsibility of educating the viewer as to what's going on. And there are millions and millions of dollars invested by each and every broadcast station to ensure that the greatest team possible is assembled for this task. And sometimes they take a huge whiff. For example, Jason Witten, when he tried to be a Monday Night Football analyst, when he took that 1-year hiatus from the Dallas Cowboys. It didn't work out and he went back to the Dallas Cowboys. But in this particular instance, we got a very unique scenario. In the summer of 2022, a huge announcement was made in regards to Tom Brady. He signed a huge 10-year deal with Fox Sports to be a broadcaster upon his retirement. Now, when this was first announced, no one knew how much he was going to make. It was later on announced that he was going to make a significant amount of money, like a jaw-dropping amount of money. Tom Brady was set to make $375 million over 10 years. years. This was also during a summer where broadcasters and commentators were making money left and right. At the same time, there's a lot of moving parts. I can't do a good enough job emphasizing the fact that this is an unprecedented moment in sports history. You never, ever see a player that is considered to be the greatest of all time in any sport jump into the broadcast booth. Michael Jordan doesn't call basketball games. Once LeBron James retires, he's not going to call basketball games. Kobe Bryant didn't call basketball games. You typically will get a player that was either really good at his craft or a role player or was just really good on the mic, like Richard Sherman, but was also an All-Pro and a Super Bowl champion, or someone that's very charismatic like Ryan Fitzpatrick that will make the move to the broadcast booth. You never see the greatest player of all time agreeing to make the jump to the broadcast booth. And a huge reason why this is possible is, one, the NFL is awesome. All Tom Brady needs to do is broadcast 18 to 19 games a year and he'll get paid $37.5 million a year, which is more than he was getting paid when he was under center. Who better than to educate individuals on the game of football than the greatest of all time? Could you imagine Tom Brady picking apart Patrick Mahomes' game, praising Patrick Mahomes, criticizing Patrick Mahomes? Could we please get a color commentator that will criticize Patrick Mahomes, please, for the love of God? Jokes aside, there were some caveats to this. You see, Tom Brady wasn't ready to be a full-time commentator the moment he retired. He took a year off, and the result was a pretty interesting situation. You see, Fox needed someone that could hold the fort until Tom Brady decided to come in and take over the job. The individual for that job was none other than Greg Olsen, and Greg Olsen did a remarkable job in his first year in the Fox Sports booth. So last year, when Greg Olsen was asked about the potential of Tom Brady coming to the Fox Sports booth, this is what he had to say about it.
We all know the reality. I know what I signed up for this year. My goal, and I said this before the season even started, my goal was to try to do the best job that I could, give people a fun listen, give people maybe a little bit of a different perspective and insight into the game. It sucks. It's not, I'm not, it is, but at the end of the day, I'm a big boy. I know what I signed up for. I took a chance on myself and rolled the dice. We'll see how it plays out.
So there is a little bit of a problem here because the moment Tom Brady joins the team, Greg Olsen's going to be bumped down to number 2. His salary is going to decrease from $10 million a year annually to $3 million a year annually. And I know everyone's going to say, boo-hoo, Mike, that's still a lot of money. But when you're Greg Olsen and you made the amount that you made throughout your playing days versus Tom Brady, it could sting a little bit for sure, especially when you were really good at your job during year 1. Now, during year 2, there were some mixed reviews on Greg Olsen, but to be honest, when you compare it to Jason Witten, I think Greg Olsen did a solid job. Now, this is where things get really, really interesting because Tom Brady went on the Pat McAfee show and discussed his broadcasting future.
Just learning from them, people, current broadcasters, ones that have done play-by-play. I've connected with a lot of fun people. I've got great notes. I could probably write a broadcasting playbook at this point.
Now, this interview was very interesting. Tom Brady said a lot about his future plans.
It's been something that I've really challenged myself, and I really look forward to get on there and calling games for Fox starting in September.
And also address the elephant in the room, which was Greg Olsen.
Greg's done an incredible job. I have so much respect for him, how he approaches his job. I think he does an incredible job every time he's on. I love listening to him. And I'm just going to go in there and do the best I can do with my own perspective. And
the coolest part of all is Tom Brady announced that he will be calling the Super Bowl next year.
Next year, I'm going to be calling the Super Bowl for Fox, which is going to be incredible.
Now, as a result, there's a lot of speculation for this. For instance, Bill Belichick doesn't have a coaching job this year, which is a huge shock to all of us. But a lot of people are wondering, what if these two get together and they start calling games with one another? You get to see the chemistry between these two. You get to see them joking around. You get to see them in a completely different light. I mean, there's that famous clip of Bill Belichick explaining why he has a long snapper, and he goes into it for 10 minutes.
Traveled that long and winding road were frequently position players, and that's where they came from in college as well. So a lot of the good college punters and play teams would generally pull, first of all, there wasn't that many gunners, and let the ninth guy go and punt away from them. And then when there's a decent amount of pressure on that player as well, not just to snap, but also, as I said, to block and punt protection. No, you're welcome, Ben. Thanks for the question.
As a matter of fact, last week, ESPN host Pat McAfee offered to hire Bill Belichick for his show. NBC's Mike Tirico was on Chicago radio championing how good Belichick would be on TV based on his experience working with him during the Super Bowl and from the NFL All-Time Team Series in 2019. Said Tirico, he will be awesome. He will be the guy who everyone shuts up and listens to. I promise you. And this isn't something new. You typically see head coaches that are out of coaching for a brief period of time jump into the broadcast booth for a while, like Sean Payton when he retired from the New Orleans Saints and before he got the job with the Denver Broncos, or John Gruden before he sued the NFL. And let me know if you want us to make a video on John Gruden suing the NFL. But probably the most interesting part about all this is there's a gigantic elephant in the room in regards to what is going to happen to Greg Olsen. And Greg Olsen recently discussed this on the Dan Patrick Show.
Given your situation at Fox now as a broadcaster, what do you want to do?
I want to call top games. Obviously I've known Tom was coming for, 2 years, year and a half, whatever you want to call it. I feel like we've handled it as well as we could for the last 2 years, and another opportunity to call top games at Fox or somewhere else, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
There are so many moving parts out of my control, but my goal is to be a top A broadcaster again. And I'm going to do everything in my power to achieve that. Someone even mentioned in the comment section that Greg Olsen is getting Justin Fields tier, in the sense that Greg Olsen did a solid job broadcasting, and there's just a significantly better generational talent that could be better than him at his job. But at the end of the day, if you have to choose between giving Tom Brady a chance at commentating and sticking with Greg Olsen, who's been solid, you're probably going to give Tom Brady a chance. And it sucks that Greg Olsen is in this situation to begin with. Now, I know Greg Olsen's a very polarizing figure, and a lot of people are suggesting that he might end up working for the XFL, but I feel like Greg Olsen belongs on a major network. At the end of the day, there's a lot of ways this can go in, and I applaud Fox for getting Tom Brady to agree to call these games to begin with. But at the end of the day, when you have this type of opportunity, obviously you have to bump Greg Olsen down to number 2. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about Tom Brady's return? I know it's not his return to football, but still, watching Bill Belichick potentially in the booth with Tom Brady would be so interesting. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.